Joining us this afternoon, we have none other than Shawn Banks of the Carter Cooperative Extension Agency. And Shawn, good afternoon to you, and hey, a good cold weekend to you as well.
It's going to be a freezing weekend.
Yeah.
Good afternoon to you too.
This. I would think that this is a good thing for all the little insects that we want to get rid of.
Yes, it should do a number on a lot of those insects that are hiding. If they didn't hide really well, this weekend should take care of them.
And they probably haven't hidden very well because the past couple of years they haven't had the necessity.
Exactly, yes.
And so, oh good. Will they be falling out of the trees?
I don't know if they'll be falling out of the trees, but they should be falling down dead at some point.
Okay, all right. What about in the grass? And will this have any impact on voles and moles or things like that?
Well, with voles, they generally hide underneath something, so unless it gets super, super cold, they probably won't be affected.
Excuse me, I thought this weekend is going to be super, super cold.
Well, it is going to be super, super cold for what we're used to, but they'll still, they're going to be up underneath things like buildings and things like that, so they'll have a little bit of insulation that way.
All right.
Moles generally burrow down in the ground, so unless we get a frost that goes down about 2 to 3 feet, they're probably pretty safe as well. So I highly doubt that it's going to do anything for the moles and the voles, but hopefully it'll get a lot of those insects that didn't go down deep enough.
Okay. All right. So we've got cold weather ahead of us. What else is happening?
Well, with the cold weather, I was thinking this would be a really good time to start planting seeds inside.
I'm missing. Oh, okay. you had me. I'm going. Who wants to go out there and punch holes in the ground and plant seeds? All right. What do you mean inside?
Well, a lot of times we can start seeds inside. So those tomato plants and the cauliflower and cabbage and broccoli plants that you get that are already up and about 4 or 5 inches tall, they're usually started about 6 to 8 weeks before they go to the garden center where you can purchase them.
Okay.
So now would be about the time to go ahead and start planting those seeds to get them. And if you've ever seen a cabbage seed, those things are little teeny tiny. So it takes them a little while to get up to sellable size.
Okay. Yeah. All right. But here's my question. Planting them in what? And when I say that, obviously you're going to plant it in dirt. I understand that. But what kind of a container?
Okay, surprisingly enough, most of the planting mixes that you're going to use to plant those seeds don't have any dirt at all. They have sphagnum peat, maybe some vermiculite, possibly some perlite, but a lot of times it's just a mix of peat and vermiculite, which is a really lightweight, very fine mixture so that the seed doesn't find its way down to the bottom of the container. Because the mixtures are so fine that those little teeny tiny seeds like the cabbage and the broccoli seed, they'll sit up there on top where they're supposed to stay and be able to germinate and have enough energy to break through that tiny 1/8 of an inch covering that you put over the top of them.
All right. Then you put it in, this is in preparation to go out in the garden.
Right. So what you're going to do is you're going to buy like you can go to the garden centers, and right now they have these biodomes, which is they have a watertight container on the bottom. Then they have your packs that you can put the seeds and the soil and the seed in. And then they have a plastic thing that goes over the top. And that's really good to keep the humidity and the moisture inside where the seed is so the seed doesn't dry out, because if the seed does happen to dry out, then you end up having a problem with the seed not germinating.
Right.
Or it starts to germinate and then it dries out and dies.
Okay. Do you put any dirt with it, number one?
Okay, you're going to put the potting mix. So usually the seed starting mix, you put that in there. You don't want to have any fertilizer in there because it doesn't need any fertilizer until after it germinates.
Okay.
So after it germinates, which depending on the seed can be anywhere from 7 to 14 days, then you want to add just a little bit of fertilizer in there to get it going. Most of these plants are going to have what's called cotyledons or seed leaves, and those seed leaves store the energy that they need in order to get up out of the ground and get to the sunlight. Once they get to the sunlight, then they can start needing the fertilizer to produce the stuff that they need in order to grow.
Okay. Then you mentioned also moisture, keeping that in. If the house is particularly dry or the room is dry, do you want to somehow, say like with a spray bottle, spray moisture water in these on the plantings?
And that's why you put the plastic cover over the
Okay.
top. That plastic cover seals it so that the humidity stays inside that biodome.
So you don't need to do any additional watering.
And so until those seeds start germinating, and you need to take that cover off and add an extra light, you won't need to add any extra water because
Okay.
all that moisture is going to stay in the soil.
That was the next question. What about light?
Most seeds don't need a whole lot of light in order to germinate, and you definitely don't want to put those biodomes in direct sunlight
Because they'll get hot.
because they'll get way too hot and the seed will end up dying. If you need some heat, most of the time you want to get a heat mat, and that will go underneath the seed tray to heat the soil and not the air on the top.
Gotcha.
And I was surprised to see some of those in a couple of the garden centers. So you can actually get those at the garden center. You don't necessarily have to order it online. The one thing that I would caution people with those heat mats that go underneath, a lot of those don't have a temperature controller on them, and so you want to be very cautious not to let it get too hot, and you definitely don't want to leave it unattended for any length of time, because it could short out or start a fire or something like that. You don't want that to happen.
So I go in and look every 2 days or 3 days. You lift the cover. Which is good cooks don't like that. So what, should we just sort of keep a tally and say, okay, 12 days from now is this date? I'll go look then. 12 to 14 days.
Most of the time on the seed packet, it'll say seeds will germinate in however many days, 7 to 10 days or 10 to 14 days. I wouldn't really check those seed until a day or two before that first. Like if it's 7 to 10 days, I really wouldn't check the seed until about 6 days. But what you want to do is look through that plastic cover because it's a clear plastic cover. When you start seeing them come up, you could actually leave the cover on there for a little while longer and just add some light to it. If you've got a grow light, that works really well, or even just any kind of light. Grow lights work better because they have a wider spectrum of light rays, and that will decrease the stretching of the plant. If the plant's not getting all of the different shades of light that it needs, it's going to stretch and then it's going to be really weak when you plant it outside. So you want to add some light to give it the strength that it needs. But that won't happen until just after the seeds start germinating.
Okay, we're talking broccoli, cabbage.
Broccoli, cabbage, you can start lettuce now, or you can wait another week or two for the lettuce. But broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, collards, any of those that you want to start early.
Okay, so we do it now. 14 days from now, what do I do?
14 days from now, you want to check it, and if the seeds have come up and they've germinated and started to grow, then you're going to want to add some light, whether that means taking off the lid for the biodome and putting them in a bright window, or whether that means putting a grow light over the top and giving them the light. You want to keep that grow light about 2 to 3 inches or 2 to 4 inches above where the growth is. So you want to have that grow light really low and be able to raise it up. Yeah, the light, even though it's got a broad spectrum, it's not as intense as it would be if you were getting the sun's rays. So you want to keep it really close so that the light gets to the plants.
Okay. Then we've got the grow light, we've got the plants. When do we plan to go outside with them?
What you want to do is after about a week or two before you get ready to actually plant them outside, you want to start acclimating them to being outdoors. So you want to take them outside into a mostly shaded area and then gradually move them out into more and more sun.
Okay. Now, this is using, current technology. What did we do before we started doing this indoors?
We just waited till it was warm enough outside to plant them outside.
Okay. Now, does this mean these plants will produce earlier?
Yes. These plants should produce, for example, the lettuce will already be up and it'll only need 2 or 3 weeks before you can start harvesting it, rather than a week or two for germination and then another 3 to 4 weeks before harvest.
Wow. Okay.
You'll have them up tall enough to where once you get them in the ground, they get established. It takes about a week to 2 weeks, and you can start cutting off the leafy lettuce.
Okay. We're talking lettuce, but there are different varieties of lettuce. Now, are there different varieties of broccoli? I just know broccoli. So
yeah, there's going to be different varieties of broccoli as well, and some of them will have a longer length of time before they mature.
Okay,
but it'll say that on the packet or on the seed catalog if you're ordering them online.
Okay, and what about mixing and matching these different varieties? in the field, well, obviously in in your interior, that doesn't matter. But when you start planting them outside, does it matter if you mix and match? I'm just going to pick on lettuce because obviously you have many varieties of lettuce.
Well, it doesn't matter because with lettuce or even with broccoli or cauliflower or cabbage, all of those plants, what you're eating is the green part. You're eating the leaves.
Right.
So you're not actually letting them produce the flowers and the seed. So
okay,
you're eating whatever it is that you ordered. Now, if you were to let some of them go to flower and you had different varieties out there, there's a chance that they would cross-pollinate, and then you have no idea what you're going to get.
Wow. Okay.
But most of these
a new brand, a new.
Yeah, it could be good, it could be awful.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get when you let them cross-pollinate and grow from seed.
Right. We've got this cold weather. Good time to do some preparatory planting, if you will.
Right.
I guess the other question, and you're planting each one of these seeds independently in this biodome.
You can plant. You usually get the cell packs in there to plant them right into the cell pack. So you can either plant one or two in there. If you plant two in there, because they're really tiny and sometimes it's hard to separate them out, you're going to want, once they come up, you're going to want to kill the weaker one and just leave the stronger one.
You had a YouTube program, which lets me remind everyone, you're doing a YouTube series, which is going to start showing up at CarolinaCoastOnline.com, by the way. But you did a YouTube program on how to get these seeds. You had what was it? You marked it out on a piece of paper and you used tweezers? I've forgotten how we did this.
Yes, I had what it is a seed mat. So what you're doing is putting the seeds already spaced on a paper towel. So if, for example, you're using the square foot gardening method and you want to plant radishes, you can plant those radishes about 2 inches apart and they'll grow and produce. So
right.
you can measure it out to where you can put a dot every 2 inches on the paper towel, and then put a piece of glue, a dot of glue on the dot, and then put the seed right on the glue. And then once it dries, you can take it outside, and the seed's going to stay in place. You cover the mat with about an 1/8 to 1/4 inch of soil, and the seeds all come up exactly spaced where they need to be.
And I was just thinking, glue is really it's a good growth material, is it not?
Yeah, and it's biodegradable, so the seed will grow right through it.
Right. Okay. Does it generate any benefit to the seed by any chance?
Not a whole lot of benefit. Some of the glue, part of the glue, that as it breaks down, it does produce a little bit of nutrients, but not enough to get the plant growing all the way to maturity.
So we're talking Elmer's glue or whatever glue you want to use. Space those dots and then put a seed in that, and then you've got the seeds aren't going anywhere.
Correct.
Right.
They're set where they're going to grow up, and you just put the paper towel down. And
I just want to mention it was a YouTube. Is that still?
It's still available on YouTube if you go to my YouTube channel.
And that YouTube channel is?
I don't know what the name of that YouTube channel is. I just load them up and let people find them.
Okay. We're going to have to start promoting that. I've got the one you've done on the recently on the various plants.
Right. But if you do go on YouTube and you search for Shawn Banks, look for the white guy that looks like he's a little bit chunkier and has eaten really well.
Yeah.
All right. There are several Shawn Bankses on there. Just you can look for my picture shows up on the channel there.
All right. So what else is happening?
Well, one of the things I did want to mention today is that the National Farm Bureau, or let's see, National Gardening Bureau. Sorry, let me make sure I get the right name.
Well, okay. I didn't know there was a National Gardening Bureau. Really?
I didn't either until I got this email that said they have named 2024 the year of the African violet. So 2024 is the year of the African violet. Isn't that interesting?
Okay.
So I thought that would be fun to talk about a little bit today as well.
All right. When do they grow?
African violets are naturally native to Africa.
No, but I'm assuming warm weather.
Yes, they are a tropical rainforest plant, so they're native to tropical rainforests in Africa. They were discovered in 1862, 1863, somewhere around there. So they've been around for a really long time. And from the description of the history, there was only one found at that time, and from that one we have all these different cultivars. So we've got cultivars that have variegated leaves. We have different leaf shapes. I think there's like 8 or 9 different leaf shapes of African violets. You've got colors where you've got white in the center and color on the outside. You've got colors where you got color in the center and white on the outside. vice versa, all different color patterns. It's really weird.
Are they now just grown primarily here in the States in hothouses?
Their house plants is where they're grown. They do need to have high humidity, so a lot of times inside the house during the wintertime they'll stop blooming because they're not getting the
Right.
high humidity.
Yep.
If you want to increase that humidity around them, you can put a saucer, a plant saucer, put some pebbles in there and fill that with water. Just make sure that you're not getting extra water into the plant because you don't want the root rot to happen. Even though they're in a tropical they grow in a tropical rainforest. If they get too wet, then the roots rot and then they end up dying.
Okay.
Which I thought was kind of weird. They're a tropical rainforest plant. You would think they would be used to it. But they like to have the soil moist but not wet. So it's just maintain the moisture in the soil, but you don't want to get it too wet or you end up having root rot and then the plant dies.
Okay.
Another thing that I found was kind of interesting is that...
By the way, this is the month of January?
No, it's the whole year.
Whole
2024.
year?
It's the whole year. It's the year of the African violet.
Okay.
Whoa. Yeah, kind of weird. But you don't want to put them in too much sunlight. They like to have partial sun.
Right.
So they'll get some dappled sun throughout the day. They don't like to be right in the window on the south side of the house where they can get sunlight all day long.
Yeah, if you're dealing with for example, a jungle area where it's triple canopy, there isn't a lot of sun that comes through. And
Right.
and dappled is best you can get now. That's true.
And that's what they like is just the dappled sunlight.
Okay.
Have you ever touched the African violet and felt the leaves of the African violet?
I probably have, but nothing comes to mind.
Okay. They're really kind of fuzzy or hairy. They have a lot of trichomes on there. And those hairs that are on the leaves are actually used to take some of the moisture out of the air. So that's why you want to keep moisture in the pot beneath it so that you can have that high humidity right there around the plant. That helps the plant to continue its blooming cycle.
Okay. All right.
Which was kind of interesting as well. I thought that was interesting.
It's the year of the African violet. Okay.
Right. Not a plant that it's not even in the violet family.
Oh, really?
No, it's not in the violet family, so it's not a viola. It's not a pansy. It's in a completely different family altogether, just because the person, I guess, who discovered these said, oh, that kind of looks like a violet. Well, it kind of does look like a violet. He called them African violets because they were in Africa.
So that's the reason we have Shawn Banks with us every week to talk about these unique and, if you will, esoteric experiences associated to gardening or for that matter, houseplants, things of that nature. All right. Year of the African violet. What else is new?
Well, I wanted to remind people that we do have a speaker event coming up with the Master Gardeners, and we have Amy Mead. She is a extension specialist down in the Brunswick, New Hanover area.
On native plants.
And yes, she is going to be talking about why native plants are so hardy in our area.
You know, one of the things that does surprise me, and of course, I can appreciate people are looking for variety and decorative nature, and I think the pears are a perfect example, which of course have become somewhat of an invasive issue for us. But the other aspect of it is, with the native plants, it strikes me you don't have to do as much work. And of course, being a lazy individual that I am, that's my kind of plant. Put it down there, it grows. I come out, look at it, and say hello. It says hello back at me, and I go on.
Well, and that's a good thing about native plants, but people also need to remember that if a native plant is native to an area with a lot of water, then you need to add a lot of water to it.
Okay.
If it's native to the sand dunes, then it's obviously not going to need a whole lot of water.
Right.
So a native plant that grows on the sand dunes out at Fort Benjamin is going to be different than a native plant that grows in the marsh area.
Right.
Sand dunes at Fort Macon, not Fort Benjamin.
Yeah.
But if it grows on the dunes, then it's going to do well in a dry situation. If it grows in a wet soil, then you need to put it in an area where it's wet.
All right. Along with this program, and when is this program taking place?
It's February 7th is the speaker event, and that's a Wednesday, and we'll be meeting at the Civic Center, and the program starts at 10 o'clock. The doors are open at 9:30 so that everybody can get in. February 7th.
Is that what day is the week?
It's a Wednesday.
Wednesday. Why not a weekend?
That's the day the Master Gardeners decided to do it. We usually do it on the second Wednesday of the month, but because the second Wednesday was the 14th of February, we decided to do it a week earlier so we wouldn't interfere with everybody's Valentine's plans.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you're also going to have some local plants to give away.
Yes, the master gardeners have purchased some native plants in 1 gallon containers, and they will be giving those away after the speaker.
Okay. I'm intrigued that you purchased them. Okay. That's because they're native. They're everywhere. You just
Right.
But digging them out of somebody's yard is probably not a good thing.
And digging them out of the forest is kind of against the law. So
Oh, it is. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
if you go to the Croatan, you get
we-
caught digging up plants, you can get in trouble.
We'll leave that alone right now. Statute of limitations, I think, kicks in. But anyhow, all right. Anything else for the week?
I just would caution people if they do have some tender perennials outside or some plants outside that they are worried that it might get too cold, to cover them up.
But not with plastic.
Correct.
Use some sort of fabric material.
Right, a sheet or a blanket, something like that. That's not plastic. Plastic usually transfers the cold right through and into the
That's
plant,
important.
where the material will provide that insulation that they need.
All right. I just want to remind folks again. When is the date for the February 7th
February 7th, yes.
for the
speaker event.
The speaker event. What time of day was that start?
It starts at 9. Well, we'll open the doors at 9:30. The speaker will speak from 10 to 11, and then the plant giveaway will take however long it takes after that.
And no registration to attend?
If you would like to come, I have set up an Eventbrite page to kind of keep track of how many seats we need to set up.
All right.
And right now we have a little over 200 people that have signed up on Eventbrite. But if you want to sign up on Eventbrite, and I highly encourage that, so I can make sure I have enough chairs for everybody.
Okay. Eventbrite.
You can go to our website at carteret.ces.ncsu.edu, and you'll find that event
Okay.
on our page, and just click on that event, and it'll take you to the Eventbrite page.
Outstanding. Again, Shawn Banks with us this afternoon with the Carteret Cooperative Extension Agency here on Coastal Gardener.
Thank you.